Hey everybody, welcome to the video. I just got home from work and I went out to dinner with my daughter this after work and just got back from dinner. So I just wanted to, before I did anything else, I really just felt led to share my testimony. And for everybody who's new to the channel, there's been a lot of growth. We're a small channel, but there's been a lot of growth within the last 9 months or so. And so I figured that I would do something a little bit different. I know there's probably going to be, maybe 25 people who will watch this, and that's okay. But maybe, it's just an opportunity for me to share my testimony to the community here. And I'm thankful for you guys, for all you subscribers. And I pray for all of you. And I pray for everybody who likes the video and shares and subscribes and comments. And I pray for you guys. And so just know that prayers come your way when you interact with the channel in any way. It gives me an opportunity to pray for you. And so I wanted to just sit down and turn the camera on, and I've been wearing a hat all day, and so I just kind of straightened my hair a little bit. It's probably a little messy and a little greasy, to be honest, and but this isn't about how I look. And there's so many teachings on the channel that I wish I could just have, the whole world's attention for like 10 hours. I wish I could just lock everybody in a room and just have them listen to what I have to say, what I have to share. God has given me so much in my life, and the things that I teach on the channel come from experiences with God, from my testimony with God. And so I thought that it was a good time to just bring it back down to zero again and just share my testimony with you guys so you get to know me a little bit better. I'm a very emotional guy. I'm kind of crying right now. I know that nobody likes to see anybody cry, but so I'm trying not to cry this video. But I'm a very emotional person. My feelings, I have a lot of feelings and senses that I sense from people, and often feel like I don't fit in most of the time. And I've kind of always felt like that my whole life. And I don't mean for this to be a depressing video, but I'm probably on the scale of autism in some way. And so I have very few interests, and very few things catch my eye and draw me to things. But what I am interested in, I'm laser focused on. And so it's a blessing and a curse. And so it's a blessing in applying myself towards loving God, and trying to stay in tune with His Spirit and with His will. And that's been a great joy for me since I started this channel. And my whole life, just a little bit about me. I do want to share my testimony with God and get into that. And but just a little about me. I don't like a whole lot of things because of the way I'm programmed, the way my mind is wired. And so there's no way around it for me that I have very few interests, and some of the things are like basketball, uh, vehicles like cars, trucks, motorcycles. Um, I love to I love to work on motorcycles, cars, and to fix things up. And I've loved Corvettes and Harleys and sport bikes and Ford F-150s, and I mean you name it, I've liked it in my time on Earth here. And part of that is for me to realize that I need to kick those down a few shelves in my life and put God up on that pedestal there. And so I do work on that. And I've been very blessed in my life. Never rich. My family, I didn't come from a rich family, and I'm not rich now. Nor do I want to be rich. I just, but I've been blessed with comfortable things. I'm in a small home. It's not even 1,200 square feet, and I'm just fine here. And I could eat top ramen for weeks on end and be just fine. And at the same time, I like to go out to a nice restaurant too and have a nice steak every once in a while. But other things that, so I do have a motorcycle. I do enjoy riding it, and it's my opportunity to every ride to talk with God and to just look at the sunset and just praise Him for this world that to me can be so beautiful. I love clouds, and I love the skies, and I love mountains quite a bit. Mountains and skies and water mean so much with water baptism and the ascension, in our walk and in our sanctification process we go through as Christians and following God. And the skies, of course, just heaven, and so I enjoy simple things as well, like simple things like that. And but some video games, I used to like video games when I was a kid. I used to like basketball and working out, and so I enjoy a small home gym in the garage. Just I've got a few dumbbells and a bench press, and it helps me to, when I go through sections in life to where I might gain a little weight and I need to get stress out, and it's just a way to vent and just shut my mind off. My IQ has been tested at 147 at the highest testing, so it's borderline genius. Woo, wow. But I don't say that to brag, because I'm not a genius. But part of the way I'm wired, I'm trying to think of the word. It's Asperger's that I'm pretty sure that I have, and but it's just part of the way that I am, and the focus that I can have on things can really just I can latch on to things, and I can latch on to basketball and play basketball for 5 hours a day. I can latch on to recording and record for 7 hours a day. Last night I was up doing a video for over 11 hours from the time I got home, 4:45 or so, to about 2:30 in the morning, something like that, whatever that is. I didn't have any breaks. I was just doing the video. And so it's like I can, when I was working on the book, I would have 17-hour days. And I would get up early and I would just go and not eat. And when I put my mind to, when I'm focused on something, I really focus on something. And so my mind, I'm able to think about things and process things and dive deep into things. But unfortunately, I don't communicate that very well out of my mouth. So I'm not a very social person. Um, and I didn't grow up as a kid with a lot of interactions. I had friends, but I had just a small group of friends, and that's all I needed. I just needed one or two friends, and then I'm totally good. Even now, I just need like one friend, and that's it, and I'm good. I got my kids, I got my mom, and my dad has passed. My brother's out of state, but I talked to him on the phone the other day, which is nice. And so my brother's an artist. He's really good, and he sent me some car drawings that were really cool, actually. Some old trucks and some hot rods and stuff. Just really sharp drawings. Just really, really cool. So he blessed me. And my mom blesses me. She's been a rock in my life, and I think the world of her. And it's just there's just I love my family so much. I have so much love in me. I'm a single dad, and short of God, my family is my world, and it's like the way I am. I don't have a lot of friends. I'm awkward, and the things that I'm really into. And so it's like when I get somebody to listen to me, I'll just go on and on and on. And because I'm normally just kind of in the middle. I'm not like extrovert, I'm not introvert, I'm kind of in the middle, like a social introvert. And so I have all these things processing in my mind. And it's like I need to share them. I need an outlet. I need to do this. And so this channel's been really healthy for me in that way. So as a kid, I played the piano, and my parents got me into playing the piano when I was 5. And I'm 43 now, so it was 1985 or 86 when I started. And the piano teacher was Mrs. Brooks, and her husband was Mr. Brooks, George Brooks and Muriel Brooks. And she was a Christian. And she was one of the first experiences with a Christian, an outwardly showing Christian person in my life. And right about that same time, when I was also 5, the neighbor kid down the street we were playing blocks out front, and he said, "Hey, do you believe in God and Jesus and heaven?" And I said, "I don't know what those are and who those are." And he's like, "Yeah, Jesus Christ is, the Father's Son, and they're both in heaven, and we can go to live with them in heaven after we die." And that's what he believed in. And so ever since then, I had believed in that. I've never, ever, ever stopped believing that. I've never questioned it. I've never swayed on that. I've always had the belief that all those things were true. And that was when I was 5. And again, at the same time, I had met Mrs. Brooks as my piano teacher. And every time I would walk in her door, I'd see this big picture of Jesus. And then another picture of her son, that they had one son, and but there was a picture of Jesus there. And every time I walked down the hall and to the right to get into the living room to get over to the piano, I'd always have to, I wouldn't have to, but I would be pointed toward looking at Jesus, and I I would see him every week and see her reverence and feel her reverence. And so by the time I was 11, I was a prodigy. I was playing at advanced adult levels, playing Mozart and different concertos double time, twice as fast. And I would do recitals with no mess ups, and have videotapes of these things and somewhere. But my piano teacher would tell me, okay, in this part of the song, this song is called L'Orage, the storm. And you can look it up and see kind of what that sounds like, and then put your speed on 2x, and then that's what I would play as an 11-year-old. And part of that is because, number one, God blessed me with the musical talent, but two, it's because of the way my Asperger's is, to where I laser focus on something, and then so I would play the piano for hours a day, and so I would I would just get things to where it's like I wanted to not only learn them, but learn how to play them faster. And so my piano teacher would say, okay, this is the storm. It's called the storm, L'Orage. And in this section, the waves are crashing down. They're crashing down, and everything is going crazy. Wind's coming this way and this way. And then in this bridge section is when the sun comes out and the water, everything gets peaceful. The storm is done, and it's past, and it's just peaceful now. And you just imagine the waters, she would say, and imagine the calmness and the sun coming out, and play it the way that looks in your mind. And so she would paint these pictures for me. And so then when I would play, I would be playing to a picture in my mind. And that put passion into how I would play, not just the speed, but how I would play. And so she taught me to put such emotion into my music. And then that, lo and behold, became another outlet for me in life, and especially as a kid. So by the time I was 18, I was doing talent shows against any comfort, because I was shy. But my aunt and my mom had nudged me to do the show, and I ended up winning multiple counties talent shows, and then which brought me to state, and then I won state, and then from there I was like, I love, this is awesome to perform in this way, and to interact with people in this way. They're clapping for me, they like me, I feel like I fit in finally, and all this praise, and it's like, as a kid I would get praise, from my grandma, and she'd say I was the best, and I wasn't. But she would say I was, and she's just very supportive. But my grandma would also say that I had, and my dad would say that I had a God-given talent. I'm sorry. But to me, it wasn't so much about the compliment as it was that they believed in God. And my family didn't go to church, so I only had this run-in with the neighbor kid when I was 5, and every week I'd see Mrs. Brooks in the picture of Jesus, and just the way she acted. And so basically I got a touch of Christianity. I got touches of Christianity and God and examples. A very basic story. Father, heaven, and Jesus. Okay, and so when I was 10, I I don't know, I think I was in the 5th grade. And the school was just down the street, just a couple blocks away. I grew up, and there's cabbage fields all around, and 11 acres behind the house. That was just plains and some trees. And I had a 4-story tree fort as a kid. And me and my best friends would spend more time building it than actually just chilling in it and playing in it. And when we had it built up, we didn't really have anything to do with it after that. It was more of the process for us, and again, the outlet for me. And so anyway, I come home from school through the field. Well, I guess I got to back up just a smidge here. School was out. My mom usually picked me up in the car, and so I had my backpack on, and I think she was running late that day. And so I'm waiting around, buses have all left, kids have all left, and I'm like the last one standing. So I'm like, I know the way back. And so I'm just going to just run home. I'll be there in just a couple minutes. So I did that. But when I get home, I realize that I don't have a key to the house, because we're not used to doing that. And the cars are gone. So one car is my dad's at work, and the other car is my mom's gone. I'm like, she was an at-home mom for a little stretch when we were in grade school to raise us kids, and so I realized that she's probably now at the school when I'm there. So now I'm worried. I've never been in this situation. Now I'm home outside, locked out of my house. It's a new situation for me. I'm little. I'm 10 or whatever I am. Well, I'm 10. And so I start praying to God. And I prayed my first prayer. And I was, God, please let my mom not be mad when she gets back. Please let her not be mad at me, God. Please let her not be mad at me. I would repeat the prayer several times. And so I went out and just kind of paced around in the front yard for a little bit and sang some songs in my head, and then passed the time until she got here. And so then she came around the corner and pulled into the driveway, kind of fast, and didn't even pull all the way in. She was just kind of like pulling in halfway, and her door flies open. And I'm like, ooh, she's either going to be really mad or she's, I didn't know what to think. And but she pops up and says, Robbie, oh man, I'm just so thankful that you're okay. I'm glad you're okay. And that was a major sigh of relief. And as she then, pulled the car in the rest of the way, and I'm slowly walking back up to the porch where I had prayed. As I'm taking those steps back up to the porch, I'm thinking, God, you just answered my prayers. Prayer is powerful. You are real. You're not only real, but you act in lives. You respond. And you can have a relationship with us, and we can have a relationship with you. And so I'll never forget that. That's my first testimony of witnessing God acting in my life. And so fast forward, I am 12 and I'm praying at night, and I just remember laying in my bed on my back looking up and just thinking about God for several minutes. I don't know, 15 minutes probably, just thinking about God. And I finally just prayed, just kind of whispered under my voice and just prayed that God, I will always recognize you as my God and my Creator, always. And I dedicate my life to always recognizing you as my God and Creator. And that's when I was 12. well, just a few weeks or few months later, I started. I had a dream, and I don't necessarily want to go into all the details of all the dreams that I've had, because then the video would be a few hours long. But it was a dream, and then it reoccurred. I ended up seeing that dream 3 times as a kid, and I wish I could go into all the details, but this isn't the time for it. I have videos that I can link to. You guys can, if you guys want to know, just ask me in the comments. I will gladly tell you. I will make a video and I have already. They're out there, but for right now, it's hard for me to hold back and not share all the details. But I had a dream that reoccurred 3 times, and there was knowledge in the dream that I didn't know, that the dream ended up giving me this knowledge. I knew I didn't know it. I've never been taught it. And it's just one of those things, or one of those situations where you didn't know that. You didn't hear it anywhere. You didn't know this information. And I was given very specific information, a year and people. And then I would look in the encyclopedia and find the people and the year. And it really opened my eyes. I will never, ever forget it. And years later, in 2020, I ended up realizing God had given me what the reason and the purpose for that was, and it was starting to come to fruition. And but before we get to 2020, just to continue on with just some of my testimony is, I prayed a few times as a kid. I went to church a few times, a non-denominational church, a couple churches as a kid. Actually, I think one might have been a Baptist, borderline non-denominational. The other one was a Foursquare, but again, it felt kind of non-denominational. I just went a couple times with best friends, and then I also had my neighbor across the street, Susan Smith, and she pulled me over to her house one time. I was over there, and she said, "Hey, come here for just a second. Do you have a minute?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." She sat me down in her kitchen, and she said, "Hey, it's important for you to know that if you were to die and you were to go to heaven, and you're standing outside of the gates, and Jesus is there, and he says, 'Why should I let you in?' This is what she's telling me. What do you tell him?" I said, I don't know. She says, "To tell him that because you're my Lord and Savior." And I'll never forget that. And so Jeremy Baumgartner, the little 6-year-old kid when I was 5, he planted a seed in me. Me leaning in towards God through prayer gave me a testimony that planted a seed in me. And, comments like my grandma and my dad would make, that I had a God-given gift. They believed in God. That planted a seed in me. My mom would tell me that she would go to church as a kid and she painted a picture, and that she would see Jesus on the walls. She would tell me that, and that would plant a seed in me. And my neighbor, Susan, planted that seed in me. And going to the churches just twice planted a seed in me. I had a testimony of God. And I knew of his power. He had acted in my life in personal ways that were undeniable. And several times as a kid. And then there were times where I'm hanging around the wrong kids as a teenager and had stuff that I shouldn't have had. And I go out into the field to my 4-story fort. And I climb up to the top floor. And all around is blackberry bushes. And I throw these things in the blackberry bushes for the reason that God would want me to do that. For him in mind. Not just to do it because it was right, but because I had a focus on God. I was prompted to do this. And so I leaned forward and I did it. And it's a cloudy day, wet on the ground. If you've ever been to Oregon and you'd know what I'm talking about, an overcast day is very gloomy, very gray, and very damp and wet, and that's what it was that day. And as I did that, the sun immediately opens up above my house, and it shines a beam of light down, bright, piercing, right on me. After the moments that I did that, I'm still standing on the tree fort. It's the very moments afterward. And I knew that it was God recognizing what I had just done. It's a two-way street. And that's a relationship. He's always drawing you. Are we drawing to him? How are we drawing to him? Are we praying? Are we trusting? Are we sharing our testimony? Are we thinking about him? Are we dedicating ourselves to him? Do we love him? We had some small dogs, and one of them died. His name was Torsky, a little Shih Tzu, and he was black and started getting some silver hairs, and he ended up passing. And out in our backyard, me and my dad were tasked to bury him, and we put him in a milk crate and wrapped him up in his favorite blanket, and my dad did most of the digging, but I was there by his side, and I probably dug a little bit to break the ground a little bit. And as my dad's, probably 30 inches down, he's sweating, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking up at the sky behind the shed, and thinking about Torsky, and if dogs go to heaven too. And I asked my dad, I said, Hey Dad, do you think Torsky's in heaven? And about 4 or 5 seconds later, he says, I think so. I think he probably is. And then I didn't say anything. I just took it in. And it was another seed that my dad just gave me, reaffirming that he believes in God and heaven. And none of us are perfect. My dad wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. My family's not perfect. Nobody's perfect except Jesus. But we can still love God. We can still think of him. We can still want to go to heaven with him. We don't know how long we're going to live. We don't. And that gives us urgency to walk and to be sanctified and to do what God is telling us to do and to have a relationship, and to let seeds be planted and to accept them and to let them grow and to build our testimonies and to share in fellowship and um, to make it to heaven and to bring others to heaven. That's why we're here. What sub-calling we have under that, that's going to change every day. And so are we in tune? Do we want that? Do we want to be in tune? Are we willing? Can we recognize that the world will take hold of you? The motorcycles and the cars can take hold of me. I have to be very aware of that and let those things go. Don't take so many pictures of the dang motorcycle. Don't lay on the couch looking at the motorcycle pictures. Don't think about it so much. And so it's like that's just something that I need to work on, and I'm doing a lot better over the last few years, but it's still, you just have to put things in their place, right? You have to recognize, are we willing to put things in their place? Do we think about heaven? Why do we want to go to heaven? Do we want to go because it means we're not going to go to the flames and we're going to get a free pass to comfortableness? Is that what we think of why we want to go to heaven? Or do we want to go to heaven because we want to be with God? Why would we want to be with God? It's because we love Him. Why would we love Him? Because we accept the love that He first gave us. We lean in. How do people fall in love? You don't just see somebody and you fall in love. You do things. Go on a first date. Starts with a smile, maybe a handshake, maybe a kiss, a ring. There's a process to becoming married and to fall in love and become married. And one day we are going to be married to Christ, and He's the head of the church. We're the body, and the head's going to marry the body, and it's going to make a full person. Many are one. It's the mystery of marriage. It's the mystery of the Godhood. And you're one through what you do. Jesus did the will of the Father, and so He was one with the Father, and He said that we're going to do things greater than Him, and that we can be one with the Father as well. So what are we doing to lean in and draw to God, to build a testimony, and to water the seeds that people are planting around us? So I had these moments when I was a kid, and but when I turned 19 and I started dating a young lady that was also 19, we were talking about marriage and where we're going to go to church, and so since I didn't go to church and her family did, I was just going to go to her church, right? But as you start thinking about that a little more, I became more prayerful, and I made it a habit to pray every night. And there's probably been, to be honest, probably less than 20 times in the last 24 years that I've missed a night, sidetracked or fall asleep or something. But pretty much every night I'm saying a prayer before bed. Well, the last maybe 7 years or so, or maybe longer, I say a morning prayer too now. And it's just a habit. And so, that starts my day and it ends my day. And it's just a way to surrender to God and to acknowledge God and center your mind for the day as best as you can. But you know that it's good to follow God, and that His ways are good, and that whatever those ways are going to be, He's going to be there to protect you and to help you through it, and That's part of the trust, and part of the trust allows us to take our belief and take a step in faith and to walk on the water as Peter, if we have that much faith, and so to walk is to do, to be one with God is to do. And when I threw the stuff that I shouldn't have had into the blackberry bushes, I did something. I leaned towards God. When I prayed in the doorway, I did something. I prayed towards God. I surrendered. I acknowledged him. I wanted to listen to the neighbor kid. I wanted to listen to my neighbor, Susan, across the street. I wanted to look at Jesus when I walked in. I didn't ignore him. I looked at Jesus when I walked into Mrs. Brooks's house. And all of these things we're accepting. We can accept God or we can not accept God. We can believe or not. But then we can also do and express our belief toward him or not. And I just testify. I testify that as you do, as you express, that's when the two-way street is known. That's when you begin to know him. And when you love him a little, he loves you in return back a lot. And that's what can overwhelm you in a good way. And that's what can hook you. That's what can hook you. He just caught a fish on the hook. And you're now a fish, and he just caught you. And he fishes for men, for mankind. And he caught me. So thankful. He's forever caught me. And while I make mistakes still, and will continue to make mistakes, unfortunately, I'm at a point in my life with the experiences that I've had that he's caught me, and I'm thankful for that. And I recognize that whatever I could possibly want, God might want that for me, but he might have something else. It might be a mixed bag. But whatever the things are that he has for us, they are good. There's levels of goodness. Some things will not, you won't experience their full goodness until the very end. So sometimes we're going to go through some trials and tribulations and some hard times, challenging times. But he does equip us with the Holy Spirit if we lean into him, if we express. Say that prayer. If we think about him, right? Open the Word, read a couple passages, read a couple verses, read a chapter or two. There's so many ways we can lean into him, but so nowadays I think about continual prayer and man, that's got to be impossible. But from my experience, it's just talking to God a lot, and you call that prayer. It doesn't have to end with a dear God and an amen, but it's just to communicate with him. And it's an open door. God has an open ear, and he wants us to not only pray to him, but to petition for those things that we might want. And we should consider what might be good to him or others and want those kinds of things. Don't long for the Corvette. Don't long for the bigger house or the bigger paycheck. If you're single, don't long for marriage. Just long for God, and everything else will fall into place to the orders and in the ways that it needs to be. We can eat ramen or we can dine and have every slice of pie before us and all the different options before us. We can let the the world hook us, or we can let God hook us. And we have a choice there. We have to choose to let God hook us. There's a hook right here, the world and sin and evil and other mankind's. And there's a hook that is Jesus holding the hook in front of us and say, hey, follow me. Come this way. And let's do the Father's will. I'll do it. You do it too. I'll show you how. Let's do this together. Let's be one with the Father together, right? And so I get married and go from 20s to late 30s, and I ended up getting a divorce for reasons that I won't go into here. I want to fully respect my ex-wife. I just talked to her today, and we work together really well still, and co-parent really well. I'm very blessed for that, and I pray for her, and pray for all my friends and family and loved ones and community, and the bus drivers and the kids and the teachers and the curriculum, and my neighbors and the birds and the squirrels, the beasts of the field and the fish and all the animals, all my neighbors. I pray for them every day. And I find that, I pray before each meal. And so you got your 3 meals a day, and you got your morning and night prayer. That's 5 prayers. But I pray for my neighbors, and as I'm driving, I pray for protection of those around me and myself, and constantly praying. When I see people on the street corner, I pray for them, because it's a reminder that, if I think I'm having a bad day and I see somebody in a wheelchair in the rain on a street corner, trying to muster their way through the cold and wet rain with their ailments and their physical issues, it really quickly sobers me up to say, man, you got it good. You've had a good life. You got it good, man. And it humbles me very quickly. And that's where my heart and my love comes in, and I just want to share that in the channel. And the experiences that I've had, I've had 42 months of prophecies that have come true, and some of it involves the President Trump and bombs that are coming. So much, and I just want to share it, and I'm glad that you're on this ride with me. And please listen to what I have to say, because I will tell you that it is from God for His church at the very end, and to prepare people for the very end. Well, I was at the end of my time there on my phone, so I just wanted to slow down a little bit on the wrap up of the video and say that there's been so much that has happened that has opened my eyes in ways that I can't deny. And so I've seen things that it will make me sound like I'm crazy, like I'm certified crazy, and I get that. And it's part of me counting the cost and sharing it, but I'm thankful that over time and with supportive friends, I've been given a very good support system to do this, and I don't care what people think. And that people are going to make fun of me, because I know my experiences with God, and I know that God is powerful and real. And I wish my kids knew it. I wish my parents knew it. I wish my brother knew it. I wish everybody knows this, like the way I know God. Very blessed, very, very blessed by God. I have so many things to be thankful for. This Asperger's, my mind, my IQ, my talent for music, everything that He's blessed me with my dad was mentally handicapped. He was, I'll just say that. And my brother has had a lot of struggles in his life with mental disabilities, and they've squashed him. And I'm so thankful for the grace of God for them. And my brother still blesses me to this day, and I don't know how I just give thanks for all the blessings that God has given me. And from the music side, that's where my love and creative mindset can have an outlet. I was just singing a song and writing a new song on the drive home, and so that'll end up being a new song here soon. And let's see, the words are like it's going to be called Messiah, and I'm excited about it. So you might stay tuned for that. But I've seen these visions and these prophecies. Again, things that I knew that I didn't know, and they're on the world stage, and they've happened. And so I've seen bombs come to the West, and a big bomb, rather. And it was just one that I saw, but it was big, coming from the east, and that's yet to happen, obviously. But I did see the Taiwanese president in military garb, and then I share these with friends, email them to my publisher, to my professional artist. There's several texting and emails chains that I can show you at any given time. And I've showed these in videos, and then 3 weeks later, she's in military garb. And I've seen multiple bombs that escalate on countries that read right to left, that include Israel. So that's the October 7th. That's still continuing to this day. And I saw that several months in advance, again, shared through different means. I've seen Ukraine be invaded 1 week before it happened, and I shared this and with friends. Again, all this stuff is timestamp stuff, and I've seen it, and I sketched it out, gave the paragraph of what it was, the illustrator draws it, and then it happens, and we see all these things happen. And so there's a small network of friends and people that are involved in behind the scenes here that testify of this, and they testify in the book of God's mysteries by their own free will to do so. And the publisher, all the editors, they know exactly what I've submitted and when. And so it looks like this video is running out. I'm going to have to start it again here real soon. Let me do that now. Okay, got another 5 minutes and 43 seconds. So let me maybe put this back up here so that it's not moving around so much. This is important stuff of my testimony when it has to do with others and their safety. And so this is where it's been very concerning for me because I know what I know. I know what I've been taught. I know my small family circle and friends circle and what they know and what they've said. I know that I don't read books. I know that I don't spend a lot of time watching movies and being social with other people. I'm very isolated as a person. And my intrinsic nature, my what's the outgoing, and then the other one, I'm just fine with that. Again, I just need like one friend and I'm good. Like small family, I'm good. but nonetheless, the way I was raised and the way I am today is very isolated, and I long for a church. And I came from a church that deceived me, and that was the Mormon church, the LDS church, the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I was a pastor there for 13 years, and I only taught out of their book, and they challenged me to read the Book of Mormon. I ended up reading it 7 times. On my own, I ended up reading the Bible 6 times in my 13 years there. And I finally found the nail on the coffin, or nail in the coffin, in Hebrews, to where it said and so once I found one nail in the coffin, I found like 10, and I had been searching for a couple years at this point. So I'm a Mormon as I get married and have kids, and then I get divorced. But my last year of my marriage, I was led to not go to the church, and I knew that I was led to not go, but also that it was okay. And I didn't understand that mentally. Why is it okay to not go to church? It wasn't clicking in me that I needed to not go to that church like for good. So once I'm divorced, I find myself with a different schedule and a lot of extra time on my hands. And I'm only seeing my kids half the time, and that messed me up for a year and a half. And so it's still hard for me to not be with my kids every night. And but so that's part of what God has called me to, is to serve him in these ways with the channel as an output towards focus on drawing towards God and bringing others to him in truth. And the LDS church drove me as well and planted a seed in me to only share the truth of the Word of God. And so I took it upon myself, with the drive I had in me and the mind that God's blessed me with and the autism basically that I'm blessed with, to focus on diving into the Word on my own. No pastor. Just me and God. The Word, which is God. And I wanted to know the truths. So I started a spreadsheet. I'm an engineer by trade. I'm an educated engineer and mechanical. And I ended up, I'm in like sales now, and was over an awesome team of people. I've been blessed to be a manager and at different times, and learn a lot about how to work with people, and that you need to serve people to be a good leader. And how can you set them up for success? What can you do to help them be successful, right? And all these things I look at as paths for me to be on this channel and to be the man that God wants me to be in my life, in my calling right now. And I'm so thankful for it, because I want to be that man. I want to be a man of God. I want to serve my God. I want to hear my God. And I heard him. I heard his voice. My time's running up here. I've got 2 minutes left, 3 minutes left here. But he's shown me visions that have woken me up. And all I've done was led to write them down as I was inspired, just as he taught me that for many years, that I recorded my music that way. When I was inspired, I would wake up and I would need to catch it in the moment of inspiration. And he took that trail of experience in my life and applied that to this. So when I started seeing these dreams, I took that same thought and that same way
of being inspired to capture what he has inspired me. And the writing, I needed to share it, and it became a book. It was never planned to be a book. And so all of these experiences, these prophecies that are coming true, that affect the world, that have happened in the world, that can hurt people. I'm worried for President Trump. These last few days before the 20th, I don't know what's going to happen. But I saw multiple attacks on the American president. And when I'm doing the math and I'm counting, there's potentially one or two more. So I'm worried about that. So I'm trying to tell people that I don't know when the rapture is. But we need to prepare for the rapture, and we need to prepare for our last day. Just the same, we need to prepare our oil. So don't focus on the rapture. Focus on loving God. Focus on drawing to him today. Make that little step, that little prayer. Connect with him. Get the two-way street going. Get to know him. He wants to get to know you. He wants to do that because he wants you with him. Only those who are known can go to heaven with him. So I'm trying through this channel to connect people to know how to get to know God. I wish people knew God like I knew God. I get to David. When I'm reading Genesis and I'm reading all the way through, and I finally get to where King David is in the picture, I'm like, wow, that guy really loved God. That guy really loved God. The way he wrote so eloquently about him is different than anything you read up until that point. And I connected with David. He wrote so many Psalms. I really connected with him. And
Okay, I've deleted some files and I've got a few more minutes here. I know this is a lengthy video, but if there's just one person that listens to this, that's all that matters. What I'm trying to say is, this is my testimony. This is who I am. I have a heart for the Lord. I'm a really loving person. And I care about people and I don't want people hurt by what I've seen. I know God so well, and I know these things that he showed me. I don't know how many times I kept my mom up till 2 a.m, talking her ear off for hours about these things that God had shown me. When I knew that she hadn't been a churchgoer, and that's not something that I thought that she would be willing to listen to. She believes in God. She prays for me, don't get me wrong. But my family has not been church people. And so I didn't know how she would take it. And she has blessed me so much by being so supportive. She's been such an example to my kids, praying with us at dinner and praying for me. I'm just so blessed. So I want to honor my mom in that. But I know God. I've experienced God. I've followed God. I've fasted. I've yearned for the truth. Sincerely, I would die for the truth. I would be tortured for the truth. As hard as that would be, I've been mentally preparing for that. Don't ask me why. But it's just part of my testimony that when I try to tell people how strong my testimony is, how strong I know God, I would die for what he's shown me. And because I know that it's real. And when I was shown these things and I knew that they were real, I would talk my mom's ear off. And I put it into a book. Because I didn't know if it should be for the world or just for me to have. And I came across a verse at the right time that said,
and I'm paraphrasing here, that what I put in your ears, you're to hear it, and you're supposed to shout that from the rooftops. You're supposed to, what I give you in darkness, you're to bring to light and shout it from the rooftops. And that while we're edified by God, it's not only to edify us, it is to edify the church. We're not supposed to keep those things to ourselves. All these blessings that God has given me to just give me a rock solid foundation of his being real and acting in my life. He's hooked me, right? Well, now I'm led to try to hook you. I'm trying. Here's my hook. I'm so trying to hook you. I'm trying to hook you. I want you to be a fish on that hook that can't wait to get into God's hands. And as I told my mom these things, then what happened? Russia, you've invaded Ukraine. 7 days later, I saw flurries of bombs. October 7th happened after. See the Taiwan president in military suits. Afterwards, she's in military suits. I saw a king be crowned, and multiple kings in multiple scenes. Afterwards, I see multiple kings crowned in the same outfits. The same outfits. I tried going onto the radio, and I've got 15-minute spots. I've paid thousands of dollars of my own money. My friends have donated to share this message with the world, and it has reached the world. Revelation 10 says that in verses 7 and 8. You can find the words there, and there's the words, the little book of the mystery of God. And guess what? This book was named that before my friend and I discovered these verses.
Deleted some more files. I've got 7 more minutes. All right, let's go. So my publisher knows the string of events. My mom knows. Guy Wolek knows. He used to be a Disney illustrator. I'm not for Disney and what they're for now, but he used to be a professional artist at the highest level. He had designed, done drawings for Peppa Pig and lots of different big publications and cartoons and series. And he's a Christian. He prayed for this project, and he never told me this until later in the game. And kind of late in the game, I'm like, hey, Guy, I don't know if you're Christian or not, but would you please pray to be led to draw, that God would lead you? He said, Rob, I've done that from day one. He says, I'm a Christian, and I prayed to take on this project, and I've been led by God to do these drawings. And I'm telling you that the drawings that I gave him, there were these little tiny things that I just didn't tell him in the email. Forever, I didn't get him on the phone. I hadn't heard his voice. We're just working professionally through the publisher. So I'm giving him a paragraph, and I'm a very limited drawing artist, and I'm trying to give him these very rough sketches, and he's doing his best with it. And And I'm realizing this, and I'm praying that, can you fill in the pieces with God? Can you make God fill in the pieces for you that I'm not able to give you, and that I'm not giving you, not by my own decisions too, but I just am not able to convey it. And he had details in these drawings that were in the dream that I didn't tell him, that I saw him put in, and I had to tell him. I said, Guy, I know you are led by God because you've been putting in these details. And just another testimony. It's just another part of my testimony is in working with Guy. And these visuals that are in the book. And I'm not trying to make money. I know it's a book. And everybody out there, it turns me off big time when I see all these so-called prophets and these ministries. They're selling you everything which way to Sunday. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. I had one guy who I started to listen to his prophecies, to what he's saying is a prophecy. I get on his website and it is riddled with GoFundMe and Patreons and this and that. Buy my merch. I'm telling you, I spent over $30,000 on this book collectively with friends and contributions over years. And I've only had $161 or $261 in total sales. And I haven't even recouped it. It's been years, and the publisher's telling me to submit my forms to get the money. And at some point I will this year, probably, and it'll just go back into shipping the books out and whatever he may want me to buy a piece of software or bless somebody on the street with it, something, but it goes back into the ministry. I do not make money. I lose money. Okay. This is not a money-making thing for me. And I'll give you my books for free. And I give you my the audiobook for free, everything. So please do not think that at all. But I know that these things have happened, these prophecies, and then they have happened. I knew that they were real as I'm testifying to my mom, and then they happened, and I knew it. But I am seeing things come through in timings that I'm witnessing just like you are, in a way. So I know certain things, and other things I'm like watching TV just like you are, and meaning that I'm seeing them happen before my eyes. And I just wanted to testify that that I've had these things. And it took me, I don't know what it was, about a year to put two and two together that they were prophecies. And I started listing out my accounts. I was just led to start listing the accounts, and I was rattling them off in my head, and I started getting up to like somewhere around 10 of them. And I'm like, I just need to start noting these before I lose track of them. And so as I'm capturing them, and I finally got them all kind of listed on my notebook for my phone, and then at the end of it, I'm doing a sweeping glance through, as you do, you finish something and you send an email and you go back and read it, it's like I was doing that. And I'm realizing that there's these categories, that some of these are prophecies. They were prophetical. They were given beforehand. And then I recognize that there were things that are given beforehand that haven't happened yet. So my testimony, I hope, puts weight on the hook for you to know that I can at any time give you proof in emails and everything and testimonies that what I'm saying is true. And I'm saying something true right now that could happen to Trump. And I'm saying something true that there's more bombs to come. And I just want you to be prepared. I don't know when the rapture is going to be. Now, I have a timeline, and you may agree with that or not, but the timeline that I have is also based on these prophecies and visions and teachings that I have had from God. So yes, and I'm dogmatic in a way with those, but I am only that way because I'm not using my mind to craft these things up. They're given and I know them forever. Once I know them to a deep level. And I'm just trying to say that what I stand on appears to be dogmatic, but it is because I'm testifying that it is God leading my steps in what he has for me to share to you, to put you on the hook to. He has this for you. So all glory to him in that. Please walk and draw to God. Just think of him. Just start with praying, but you need to draw to God. We're not going to be here forever. Our time on earth is a speck of sand in time of eternity. Prepare for that time. God bless.